Hello, and welcome to the Assetto Corsa Competizione Sim Series. Today we are here for our penultimate round of the gold split at Kyalami. I am Gareth Rumfer, and I'm joined by Mihai. How are you, Mihai?
Hello, I'm just as tired as last time I was here. I'm still being attacked from all sides by uni, but I'm getting there. I'm excited for a bit of a break from that and a bit of racing action as it's currently pissing down on the track in the quali session.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Same settings on the server as we have for gold, which doesn't mean it will for sure be raining in gold because there's obviously weather randomness, but it makes it quite likely. We are obviously in our support race server here at Kyami for the GT4s. We've got 11 cars on the grid, and you were telling me before you went live, Mihai, that you don't know Kyalami very well.
no, I've driven I think a grand total of about 5 laps around this track and said screw it and didn't touch it again. I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me. It's a fairly technical track, I guess. The final sector has that one kink before the final corner that just dares you to go onto the gravel or clip the curb. And I'm gonna be if it's gonna be wet, I think we should definitely take a look at that kink now and again. There's gonna be some interesting things going on there.
Yep, the curb def always catches people out.
Yep.
Kyalami is one of my favourite tracks, so I'm very excited to see the racing going on here. It always produces some good races, so we're gonna be looking forward to that in our championship. I'm just gonna bring up the standings.
I'm going to do that too because I didn't prepare at all for this.
We also looking at the BWP overview. We do have a few penalties going out. There's 4 grid penalties and 3 pit penalties. So we're going to see quite a lot of people not able to qualify for our event here. In the standings for Tier 1, we have Rummel Jensen, obviously still leading the way as he has already been banned for winning 2 races. He's actually won 4 races. Sam Teague, David Cox, and I believe Nathan Burnswood in a past season have all also won races, so 2 more races for any of those, and it will mean banned. Sam Teague and Alejandro Chirabo are the next 2 looking to get banned, although it gets reasonably close under 3rd position, so we could see, I think, any of these guys making a run for it. In Tier 2, we've got Jack Winter leading the way in the Mercedes. A second Mercedes of Lewis Hawkins just behind him. Pedro Fernandez in 3rd with the Aston Martin.
It does look like Jack is. Last time he was in Tier 2, he would have won it if he didn't have to miss the final race. So I think he's looking for a bit of revenge, and he is currently leading by almost 40 points. So
yeah, big, strong lead. So he's going to be looking to jump into Tier 1 for the next season so he can try and get himself banned.
definitely an improvement from last season. He couldn't quite make it stick in Tier 1 in that season, having a lot of unfortunate races and accidents.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
definitely charging back up the field.
So happy welcomes to everyone that we have in the chat. Good to see Glover saying hi. He's obviously in this race right now, putting in a 5th fastest time right now. We're right at the end of qualifying, as you can see. Ollie Henley leading the way so far in the BMW, followed by Luis Fernandez and Jose Martins. So a nice mix of cars as well. Not the hugest of grids, but they often produce good racing in the GT4s. So as long as a load of these guys can stick together, we should have a quite fun time. Obviously, we're going to have one 20-minute race for the GT4s, which will only get wetter by the looks of the weather. That will then be followed by the qualifying and 2 30-minute races for the GT3s, which will be our main event.
Happy to see my favorite GT4 in the lead, though. That I love that Bimmer, and it's got a very nice livery. So
What?
I'm gonna be supporting only here.
He's looking quite a bit
The
faster
only
than a lot
Henley.
of the other people, so it looks like he does have a good
Yeah.
chance here, as long as he doesn't make any mistakes. Amazingly, Octavian Robu down in 7th position actually has the fastest second sector. Oh, that's just been... oh no, he's just been knocked down, but he still has it. So we've got a lot of people with pace across the track here.
Pace will probably not be enough on a very wet track, as even
Yeah.
the slightest little mistake is gonna have you meeting the barriers. Here, though, like, quite a bit of runoff in a lot of places, Kyalami, so not quite as bad as some other tracks when it comes to mistakes. As we
Absolutely.
transition to the grid,
Yep, so we will hop into the game. We obviously a short formation lap for our GT4 events, all of our support races. So Ollie Henley in the lead in that Bimmer, Louis Fernandez in second, Jose Martins in third in the Porsche, James Gibson in 4th position ahead of our very own Paul Glover in another Aston Martin. Connor Daly running the Audi is in 6th position ahead of Alan Noah in another Aston. Octavian Rubu in a Merc. Roy Weller in a McLaren. Michael Wang in another Aston Martin. And Harley Coleman in another Merc. Not surprised with these car picks. The Aston and the Merc are incredibly stable, sort of generally all-around good cars in the GT4 class, from what I know. So regular to expect to see these.
it is looking like rain is going to get more intense as the race goes on. So hopefully people have picked the correct pressures, or we're going to be seeing quite a bit of sliding later into the race. At 10 minutes in, the rain's going to get worse.
Yeah, and I do not expect that we will have a consistency among pressures, given that this is our for fun race that is obviously open to everyone. So if you do want to join ACCSS, remember !sign up in the chat to find out the link to do so. And this is one of the events that you can join for free every week on a Sunday, just before the championship series. Here we go. We're starting to move towards the start-finish line.
Short formation lap here in our support races. There's not going to be a full lap for people to warm their cars up, so they're going to be starting completely cold, completely slippery. That first corner is going to be quite interesting to watch as they round the final corner and prepare to set off.
Yeah, obviously in the GT4s as well, so you've got to be used to those cold tyres in these cars as we roll up towards the green flag. And we go.
Green.
Ollie Henley, good start. Obviously, the power of that BMW going to drag him down quite nicely to the line. Behind them, still side by side all the way, but the Merc getting very far ahead. Porsche there, Jose Martins getting a nice braking zone into the corner. Aston Martin number 79 of Paul Glover there getting a little bit caught on the inside, but no carnage yet. And
completely clean.
Yeah, and we move pretty safely into the next corner so far. This is where you see a lot of people go off on that first lap, and you saw Louis Fernandez there really struggling with that. He's lost his second position and has fallen back now into the clutches of the Mercedes behind due to that mistake.
Yeah, there are a few mistakes going on, but honestly, much congratulations to our drivers, because this is very definitely very clean driving given the conditions. Remember that the GT4 tires are not pre-warmed, so they're starting on completely wet and cold tires.
Yeah, absolutely. So taking it easy, a lot of our drivers for now, which is good. It's definitely the smart thing to do. Ollie Henley pulling out a nice lead, but everyone behind pretty close to there, as we see the Mercedes there of James Gibson going really deep into that chicane. He's going to lose a position to Paul Glover, who's just going to slot in on the inside there.
Ollie Henley starting to pull a bit of a gap now, 8 tenths between him and second place. James Gibson, though, still chasing Paul Glover, a very short gap between them. So he managed to stick to the back of him through the next few corners. Getting into the third sector now.
Michael Wang going wide there in Crocodile. He's going to be side by side into and past the curb of death.
Nobody died the curb of death in the first lap, as we see the first. Oh, there somebody clattered the wall. That was Jose Martins. There, he went onto the curb, the outside curb of the last corner. Lost any grip that he could have had because that is completely slippery over there, and just goes into the wall when he accelerates. That's going to be some serious damage. I don't think his steering is going to like that. As he's fallen back down to P4, that gives Paul Glover now P3, as he's right next to Luis Fernandez on the inside, trying to take that position away from him. I don't know if he managed to yet. No, they're still side by side, going into the fast right-hander. This time it's Fernandez who's on the inside, fighting to keep his position, but Glover keeping his speed a bit better, going into the next left-hander.
Yeah, Daly behind in the Audi as well, challenging Gibson but not managing to make the position. Martin still sticking in here right up with the pack, and we have a great little battle here going on for second place, as you see Ollie Henley there just roaring off into the distance.
Yep.
Paul
Glover does manage to make it stick, so now he's in P2, Fernandez P3, and Jose Martins is actually holding on to that P4, though just barely. Even with the possibility of bent steering, he's still going strong.
We had a little look inside. It didn't look like it was too bent. It wasn't going sideways on the straight. It might be a little bit soft. Could have taken just a tiny amount of damage.
On the grass. Oh, that was McLaren of Weller there, taking the shorter route across the grass, just going too deep into the corner, not managing to select a proper braking point, and onto the grass. He's plumb last now.
We'll sit on board again for a bit with Jose Martins as we get to see the view from inside one of these cars with all of the spray going on. Really makes it difficult to pick out where you're going. You can get enough of a side vision to see his braking zone, so he should be okay.
Yeah, it's all about being confident in what you're doing here, because you don't have perfect information in front of you, so it's all about just remembering what you need to do and executing it without necessarily reacting to what's around you.
Absolutely,
it's definitely a different skill.
Yeah, knowing the track and being confident in it, very important in the wet. All of our drivers managing reasonably well to work out where the grip is on this track, which is great to see. We've still got everyone close together. No one's fallen hugely back. Even the few mistakes we've seen has just put people more directly into the middle of the field. Ollie Henley, the only one who's really running away with anything, as we see two little packs really breaking out here. Daily Noah Rubu fighting for 6th position, and Gibson Martins Fernandez fighting for 3rd position behind Paul Glover, who's starting to pull away a little bit. See the Mercedes going for a bit of a move here, or getting moved on, perhaps even.
Yeah, I think it's Wang trying to over. No, it's
Rubu,
trying to overtake Noah.
Yeah, so he was going for the move, but he didn't make it. Very hard to get around at that hairpin. It could be a decent place to try for it, but it's nice and easy to do a defensive line.
Oh, I think. Yeah, I think Fernandez is out of this one, because he just got railed into the back by Jose Martins, spun around, and then I believe Gibson ended up crashing into him. And as we have an Audi in the wall, what happened there? I think he just lost it on the straight. That's Connell Daly spinning onto I think it's the straight before the final corner. Yeah, and he just completely ruined the front of that Audi. He's now plumb last. I'm going to try to go into the replay and hope it doesn't crash my game. It
Well,
did not crash him again.
it's a good time to test it now as
Yeah.
we come out of a little replay there, watching Luis Fernandez, seeing in the picture-in-picture the action that was happening on track at the time with the Audi. So Conor Daly is now ruined that thing I just said earlier, as he's fallen far behind. Luis Fernandez down to 8th position, is going to have to make a little bit of a comeback race coming through the field.
Yeah, I just found what happened to Fernandez. So Martins completely misjudges his braking point, just aquaplanes into the back of Fernandez, and then there's just nothing Coleman can do. He just runs into him coming out of the corner.
Absolutely. So Paul Glover starting to pull away a little bit now. Jose Martins, with 2 little bits of damage onto his Porsche, is in 3rd position, chased down by James Gibson in the Mercedes. Octavian Rubu managed to make that position on Alan Noah that we saw him fighting for at some point. And that puts both the Mercedes in 4th and 5th.
And Conor Daly, he ran wide at the kink of death, clipped the wet grass, which spun him around, and he went right into the wall on his own. That completely ruined the front of his Audi, which basically ruined his race.
So still overall a pretty close pack. We've just got 2 out front and 1 out back that's not making it. Hopefully Luis Fernandez, we can see him going for a move on Michael Wang here. He can be an opportunity for us to get a little bit more action as they go too wide through the curb of death, which is not normally a fast way to take that. So unfortunately he's going to fall back a bit, but he's actually managed to stay pretty close into the other Aston. Both of them being slowed down towards Harley Coleman just behind them. So possibly he can make a dive for it into the first corner, although he seems to be falling back a little bit.
Martin's there running wide in P3, letting James Gibson get alongside up the hill into the left-hander at the end of sector 1. I do not know the corner names here. So.
Don't worry, neither do I, and I love this track.
But that does put James Gibson now in P3 after Martin's mistake. Martins is struggling a little bit. I still think he does have a little bit of damage. That's making it hard for him to judge his cornering. Fernandez as well definitely has a little bit of damage on the front of that car, which is going to make his life difficult. But he is sticking to Wang quite furiously, so I do think we're going to be seeing more action here at the back. Conor Daly, though, is now really, really far behind. I do think his car is completely totaled.
So Fernandez going into the hairpin now, likely to try and make a move here. If he can get up onto the inside, he's going to look for it. Gets on the brakes. You could take a nice tight line through here if he could just keep up the momentum, but Wang takes that corner really well and she doesn't really give Fernandez any opportunity to jump down the inside quite yet.
Yeah, so we got 2 battles going on basically now. We got Fernandez and Wang as well as Martins and Gibson. Everybody else has gotten quite a bit of a gap. One unsung hero of this race at the moment is just Octavian Robu. He's climbed up to P5 just by not dying.
Yeah,
and hopes to make something of his position, because he's gone up to the back of Jose Martins now. I do believe James Gibson is acting as a little bit of a cork in the bottle, and backing everybody else up behind him, as Martins is already looking to do something at the end of the start-finish straight. Might be looking for a switch back into turn 1, but it does not manage to outbrake James enough to make it stick, so he's going to stay behind this corner, as I do think I catch Fernandez is
still behind. He's trying to make
He's trying to make a move.
Yeah, it looks like he's putting his nose in the side of every single corner he can, but taking these slow lines is just not managing to promote any forward movement up the order right now. He's quite stuck in this position.
No, it is. Catching up is one thing, overtaking is another, even though overtaking is definitely not that difficult at this track. It is in the wet, so going offline definitely puts you at a much bigger disadvantage.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not going to be helping him too much, as Robu has done very well to catch up to the back of Martins as well. So we've seen Glover spun.
Oh no! Well, oh, yep, yep.
We're gonna hop
I'm just gonna hop into the replay real quick, see what Mr. Glover did. So I'm looking at him, just trundling along in second place, just not bothered by anybody,
once again
and
side by
going
side.
onto the grass and hitting the wall. Yep, it's just the classic hit the wet grass spin. Look at him, just goes over the curb, probably gets some understeer just before the exit, just hits the grass a little bit, still on full acceleration, and just loses all the grip on one side of the car. Does well to get out of the way of everybody. That could have been much worse.
Absolutely, gets nice and safely off the track. As we saw Luis Fernandez there just get around Wang finally. Wang now has Coleman and Weller starting to pull up towards him. Weller made
Yeah, Gibson and Martins though are starting to pull a bit of a gap on Robu, so I do think that fight's kind of being diffused. There are only about 7 minutes left in the race, so if you want to make a move, you got to be thinking about doing it pretty soon, as your chances are running out. Looking at Ollie Henley, who has nothing to worry about, 11 seconds ahead. Though I'm saying that neither did Glover, as Gibson manages to stay ahead of Martins again, but Martins is definitely looking racier and racier. And as I was saying, I'm saying Ollie Henley's got nothing to worry about, but neither did Paul Glover. And well, you don't need to be put under pressure to make mistakes, it seems.
Stody Paul Glover falling all the way to the back of the field behind even Connell Daly and his Audi, who also took a self-motivated trip to the wall.
Wait, Raps, it just reminds you of what corner is that one? The kink and Brands Hatch, the blind kink. After Dingle Dell, you know the
Yeah.
one, right? You
Yeah,
clip the
yeah.
grass a little bit, and you're just dead. That's it. Doesn't matter even if you're in the dry. Even if you're in the dry, you clip the grass there, you're dead. That's pretty much every corner here.
Yeah, quite a few of them. It's also it's very easy to lose it on acceleration here, which we haven't seen anyone do, but a lot of people in the wet. There's a couple of corners that just have little sort of almost invisible crests in them before you get to the acceleration turn. Jose Martin's scaring me there by going very close to the grass, just as we were talking about how that can murder you, but he stays in behind Gibson.
Seeing Weather getting a little bit racy here with Haley Coleman trying to do something in the final corner. Oh, there's a spin. Yeah, he that was an overzealous move and ends up spinning himself. And oh, Haley Connell, why? I don't think he saw him there.
Yeah.
It goes from bad to worse.
We actually saw that when we were looking at incidents in one of the lower splits. It can happen around that corner. You get so focused on getting a good exit out of it, and they're just blind around the corner behind the wall. And if you don't react fast enough to it, you can sort of slingshot yourself into an incident, which is what we saw the Audi of Connor Daly do to Roy Weller.
They just brake, turn in. Oh, door! Crap.
Yeah.
We just die.
Yeah, and you don't want to make too much of a aggressive move to the side in these conditions, as we are back to watching Martins chasing down Gibson. The second position now that Glover has made his mistake, although we've got a little battle of the broken and beaten at the back. Roy Weller, Connell Daly and Paul Glover, all with their bonnets poking into the sky, are having their own little tussle back here.
I'm just picturing them like they just got their legs to the floor now pedaling because their engines are... Oh, and Jose Martins murders another person as he goes into the back of James Gibson. And that plays right into the hands of Octavian Robu, who is now P2 because of that. So yeah, it does look like Robu's getting all the right little helpful incidents this race. Yeah, he hasn't done anything but just not died. And he's now gone from P8 to P2.
Not dying is the first step, as we see Paul Glover also taking a position and then almost throwing it away on the grass again. So now we have...
The question is...
Go ahead.
The question is, can Robo keep that P2? Because it is definitely looking like James Gibson is the faster Merc. But...
Yep.
So the question here in the final 2 laps of the race is, Is Rebel going to be able to keep P2? Is Jose Martins going to kill another person?
He's got a little way yet before he can catch up to anyone quite yet.
Yes, but it does look like Fernandez has yeah, Fernandez has managed to
Yep.
overtake Martins now. So if he wants to kill somebody, there's somebody right in front of him now.
Doing well on his recovery drive is Luis Fernandez. And Noah looking for the position as well, just behind them. So the two Aston Martins starting to come alive in the latter section of the race as we see Paul Glover going wide, almost giving a position back to the Audi there, but just manages to keep it.
I was gonna say it looks like Jose Martins is flashing, but I don't think he's intentionally flashing. I think it's his
His lights might be damaged.
lights are damaged. Yeah. As Ollie Henley is 16 seconds in the lead at this point, he does not care. He is just cruising.
I have literally not clicked on Ollie's name in our broadcasting tool once. Poor boy is getting no screen time, but that's his fault for just being too fast. I hope he's having fun out there.
Yeah, I think he's just, listening to a podcast,
Yeah.
thinking about what he's gonna have for dinner. Well, he's probably thinking of the race he's gonna be in right after this one. So.
Absolutely. Hopefully he doesn't get too many GT4 braking zones in his mind before that.
It's funny. The braking zones are eerily similar between the cars. Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's more how you brake that's a bit different because you don't have the arrow.
Hmm.
So I believe we're in the second to last lap as Ollie Henley is, I believe he's just cleared turn 1. I don't know if he has the time to actually, because it's raining, I don't know if he has the time to complete the lap before the timer runs out. So this might actually be the last lap of the race.
Yeah, it's looking like that.
Yeah, James Gibson and Octavian, I was about to call him Oliver. Octavian Robu is pretty much the closest battle we have at the moment. Robo actually managing to open up a small gap to Gibson, so my prediction was completely wrong. And if we're going to see a move happening, it's going to have to be this lap, I believe.
Yep, Paul Glover trying to scrape back a little bit of honour by overtaking Roy Weller in the McLaren just ahead of him. Which is the other battle that we have on track right now.
Yeah, I'm seeing it in timing screens there. Glover getting closer and closer to Weller.
Have a look at both of these at the same time, side by side, as Paul Glover is side by side with Rella going down into this chicane. It's pretty much impossible, I think, to take the chicane side by side, at least at full speed it is, and Glover does get in ahead. Can he keep his momentum up? Roy Weller's doing a really good job of sticking in there with him as they both come up to the hairpin. Paul Glover has the inside, keeping it nice and tight, and he will take the lead in that position as Ollie Henley just gets over the line with enough time to do another lap.
Yeah, I was staring at the map over there. It would be funny if he was like, "Oh, I didn't fuel for this." As Octavian Robo runs wide in the final corner, manages to not die, but he does lose second place to James Gibson, so he's now on the back foot because of that little mistake. Though very good on him for keeping it safe and not spinning on that extremely wet curbing.
Yeah, lucky for him. He does have one more lap to try and make something happen here. But probably unlikely, as we've seen these guys with pretty similar pace getting really sideways there out of the exit to the first corner.
Yeah, I think his only chance is if James makes a similar mistake at some point.
Yeah.
It's all about that. Everything else, Glover does actually get past Roy Weller, as you said. I'm looking on my timings now. So we've got that. Jose Martins has a pretty good recovery race after being killed by the person. Not Martin, sorry. Luis Fernandez has a very good had a very good recovery race after being killed by the person behind him, who fortunately is far enough behind to not kill him again. So I do believe the order as is on screen is going to be the way the race is finished, but things can always go wrong in the wet, so it's not over till it's over. As we have Ollie Henley going into the final two corners now. Just looking at on my map, I'm not gonna actually put my camera on him because it's way too far ahead. I'm not gonna dignify him with my camera. It's too fast for this.
You see them all.
Ollie Henley crossing the finish line now, so he's going to win this race. As we see Gibson and Robu coming into the final two corners, with Fernandez actually getting closer and closer to Robu. So I don't think Robu's going to be able to do anything here in the final corner as they pass, and Gibson just takes a nice, careful line through it. Even if it's a bit slower, he does not run wide, which means he will finish in P2. Robu in P3, still on the podium. Fernandez in P4. Jose Martins in P5. Alan Noor in P6. Michael Wang in P7. Haley Coleman P8. Paul Glover is going to bring it into P9. Roy Weller P10, and Connell Daly in P11. That concludes our support race.
Bring the smell of rain into my bed and lie so close to me. You could be inside my head. Maybe it's a once in a lifetime kind of thing to feel the kind of magic that your love brings. This cool
Welcome back and hello. We are now in the Gold Split server, watching the GT3s going around, seeing how many we can count of them bidding it at turn 1. This is the end of free practice, and as you can see, the weather relatively similar to what we had in the other server.
Yep. So, prepare for bins. Or not, they're gold drivers. They're probably going to do pretty well, but...
Yeah, we will still have some bins, I'm sure. For those of you who are new here, we are a rookie and mid-pack lead, so even our Gold Split are still mid-pack drivers in their first time sim racing, learning as they go, a lot of them. And so we have a nice full grid here with our pro and our amateur splits. Pro split being white and amateur split being red, as we see another cut off in the bottom of our screen there. Probably just ending his lap. The rain only getting heavier, at least in this session, so hopefully we can get the same as that in the race as well. And Rommel Jensen, as he has been for a lot of this series, has been set the fastest time in practice. And Jack Winter, who is leading AMS, set the second fastest time and the fastest time of the AMS. Our qualifying is a 30-minute session that we're about to go into. And it has a... it's split 15 minutes first for the AMs and then 15 minutes for the pro drivers.
As we have our first few people going out of the pits, and the first person being Julian Strasser. He's going to be the first one out of the pits. It's the first person being Julian and not Dan Terry.
Yeah, it's an odd one. He hasn't been as much on his game recently, but we have the big ACCSimSport coloured Bentley going to lead us around our first lap of Kyalami in these torrid conditions.
It is rain. It's not quite monsoon conditions, but it's not far from it. It's not quite like how it was. Remember Nürburgring in season 4? That was fun.
Yeah, we have definitely had some worse conditions than this, but this is pretty up there.
There's no Shane Thomas in this race though, so probably not going to be that flooded. So looking at the standings, if my browser will let me, we're going to want to be looking for Tier 1. The first place in the championship is pretty much sealed with Janssen, the only one above 100 points. We've got Sam Teague and Alejandro Chirbau, who are quite close together in P2 and P3. So these are going to be two people to watch in qualifying, as well as David Cox, Horiot, and Dudley, who are further back in P4, 5, and 6 for Tier 1. They're very close together. They're 7 points and 2 points apart, respectively. And then for Tier 2, we're going to have Jack Winter, Lewis Hawkins, and Pedro Fernandes, who are our top 3 and who we're going to be looking at from qualifying perspective.
So here we are, starting our first lap, so we can see how it is to drive around Kyalami in the wet here with Julian Strasser. Normally braking around the 100 board, you've got to stay as straight as possible and turn in really late to get around this quite tricky corner. You can use a lot of room on the exit there, and then it's pretty much full chaff up the hill, braking again, trying to brake straight and then turn in nice and early so you can get on the power as soon as possible. Going up the hill though, you've got to be careful, especially in these conditions, not to spin your wheels up on acceleration there. No braking for this corner in the dry, at least. You can just throw it in and just get on the power as soon as you've hooked up enough. Braking quite far down here. Another early apex, which you find quite a few of around here, before we get to the sort of chicane here. Little brake, turn it in. Once you've got it hooked up in the dry, it's absolutely flat through here, but you can hear that Julian is taking it a lot more carefully than that.
We're seeing a few people struggling a little bit in the conditions, getting a little bit of aquaplaning, a little bit of understeering to kind of get used to driving the cars in anger around this track. do think we're going to be seeing times get steadily better, even more than in the dry. It's just people getting used to the conditions.
So here he is taking Crocodile. You got a big braking there. You go a lot slower than you really feel like you should through there, honestly. And then
Curb of
past
death.
the curb of death, out onto the edge, but not too far out, and into the last corner. I'm hearing that Jack Winter cannot make the final round, and so he has to score well here if he wants to come first in the Amateur Championship.
This is a repeat of last time he was in
Yeah.
tier 2. Yeah. Let's see if he can get that lead going, because he already has a huge lead on Hawkins, but he does need a bit more to secure it.
Well, a
So,
really nice lap coming in him originally has already put him up to 150. Fabian Piogne coming in very close. He's in 5th position in the championship with just under half the points of Jack Winter.
So in practice, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, in practice, the top time was a 148.3 or 4, I believe it was, by Roomless. So I do think we're going to be seeing similar times coming into the end of this session. Everybody's still pacing themselves, trying to get those bankers onto the board.
Duty out here trying to create a dry line. As we see Fabio Geno, I believe they're just going off. Just cocking. Obviously, set the new fastest lap, put it down to 50.3 with Fabio Geno also doing a 50.3. So we have the top 7 drivers now all in the 150s as Marcuccio Rodelli sets a 150.5 to set himself into 3rd in the Porsche.
That's currently Hawkins is in P8, quite a bit slower than Jack Winters, almost a second off of his time. Let's see if that advantage is going to stick. Very important to get a good position qualifying.
So down at the bottom, we can see over here a few names still in the pits. Dixon Chen, Pedro Fernandez, and Daniel Durrett are all on my list as people with either grid penalties or pit penalties, so they will not be able to take part in qualifying. Roundtree, however, is out. He just has not been able to set a time quite yet. You can see Ferrari looks a little bit battered there, so he may have had a quick visit to the wall already.
As we say that, Jack Winters the first into the 49s with a 49.4, putting him 8/10 up on the second fastest car. So he's our first driver to break the 150 barrier.
Yeah, that's a big lap as well. That has put him in strong stead for what can come next. Still improving as well, so he has the chance to go even faster.
Let's see if Hawkins can respond with anything. He's 2 seconds back at the moment. Just going through the curb of death at the moment into the final corner. You're going to know if he has any improvement. I don't have that data.
He is a whole 4 seconds down on this lap, so it's going to have to be the next lap that he's making time on if he's going to, as we are watching David Long, who is coming through a similar position in the track right now and is on for a 1 second improvement, which would put him nice and near the top if he can keep it.
David Long, he's coming up from Silver Split, and he used to be Bronze Split before that, so he's been having a very quick rise through the ranks.
And a very nice lap puts him in pole position with a 149.4.
Yeah, David's always been this very consistent driver. He's never really had the incredible pace, but the thing is, he's very rarely gets himself into trouble. So he's managed to climb up the ranks very quickly, just basically by being a model driver. I believe he's definitely always a person to look at and expect to see him improve every season.
Julian Strasser getting a big improvement as well, hopping up to 7th position. Lewis Hawkins, who we were just talking about, is also looking at a 1 second improvement so far, and he still has the whole of the last sector to go.
Yeah, saying that, Jack Winters improved about 4/10 now and is on pole with a 149.0. Well, more like a 149.1, but still getting further and further away from Hawkins now. Hawkins has 2.3 seconds left, 2.3 seconds between him and Jack.
Yep, and my broadcasting tool is lighting up green almost across the board most people making improvements, including Long, Andy Thorpe, Rodelli, Cocking, and Fabian Geno.
I think we're seeing the dry line you're talking about forming now. People getting more confident on it. So we're going to be seeing those times tumbling down. I wonder if we're going to be going less at lower times than the practice times. Maybe it's not raining quite as badly.
There we go. Hawkins up to 5th position. Still almost a second away from his rival Jack Winter.
Yeah, the question here, really, because gaining positions from 5th place to 1st is not unheard of. But the question is, given this huge gap between them, and if it stays this way, is how many of the pros are going to end up slotting in between them?
Yep, that is true.
Jose Martinez here really needs a bit of an improvement. He's currently our back marker. As he, that was a bit of a block there on. Yeah, Jose Martinez did a bit of a block there on Lewis Hawkins. I don't know if he was on a fast lap, but he had to brake to avoid him and ended up going onto the grass, having to bail on his lap. So that's not very good for Lewis, as he's got about 5 more minutes to put something together.
Cocking jumps up to 5th position, just ahead of him as well. Put him even further back on the grid. As times have stopped improving quite so much. A lot of people are still on improvements, but they are very, very small. Looking at a 10th here or there for most of our drivers.
It's interesting. The steward sheet didn't actually light up given that blocking by Martinez, but it wasn't any contact, so maybe the stewards aren't going to look at that. It did look like a bit of a pretty nasty block there. He could have gotten out of the way.
Martin Roundtree and Fabian Piognet, the only Ferraris in the amateur split, both pretty far down the order now. Can hope to see them improve a little bit.
Interesting, because the Ferrari is known as a fairly decent car in the wet.
Yeah, not a bad car around this track either, so
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
There's also the driver element, so...
Yeah, Julian Strasser seems to be the one improving the most right now. Could get a nice jump up the order in AM right now. He's quite near the back of the grid so far, but the Bentley very nice in the wet. Very stable. He lost a little bit of time there on the last corner, but still going to have quite a nice improvement up to 6th.
Up to P6, that's showing the strength of the Bentleys. This is one of Julian's better qualifying sessions. Joseph Cocking, after having a bit of an excursion on the grass, is now out. And as we see Andy Thorpe having a bit of a romantic incursion with the wall. I'm gonna check the replay real quick, see if I can actually find Andy somehow. Oh, there we go. I think I found him. Oh no, that's not him. Can I see the grid? Yeah, like this. Oh yeah, I'm seeing Andy there. Yeah, he hit the grass. Remember what we were saying in the GT4 race? Basically, what happened here.
Yep.
Hit the grass, and off you go.
Very easy to do it there. It's one of those corners where you're coming up across the curb. The car's going to go a little bit light. Very easy to spin there, even in the dry. The wet makes it worse, and the grass makes it death.
Jack Winter now, as he goes onto the grass and doesn't die, but it doesn't really matter because he's increased his lead now. He's on pole with a 148.8. Radelli being the one in second place, 4.5 tenths behind. Then David Long, 5 tenths behind. Thorpe, 7 tenths behind. Lewis Hawkins is only in P8, and he's 1.2 seconds behind Jack Winter.
Absolutely. Is Dan Terry now coming around for a little bit of an improvement. Fabian Piognet is up to 8th position. Dan Terry half a second up right now as he goes through the last corner. up to 5th.
Very good. The Aston also showing how powerful it is in the rain, with David Long and Dan Terry having very good performances. And this time, fortunately, their liveries are different, and therefore I will not completely confuse them.
Roundtree now coming around for his own pretty hefty improvement, which should be able to put him into the top 10.
Got about 1 minute. We've got about 1 minute left in our AM qualifying split. So everybody who's currently on the who's just going across the start finish line now is going to be starting their final laps. I don't know how many improvements are happening. Where I'm looking at Jack Winter as he's lapping around, but he's having a bit of a scruffy lap, so I don't think that's going to be an improvement. I don't know. He might actually have time to do another lap.
Yep, they have until 15 minutes to cross the line to start their last lap, so they still have 20 seconds to do so.
We're seeing David Long ending one lap, and he will be able to start another one. Oh no, he's actually starting a lap. Never mind, he's starting his final lap. Camera angles can be a bit deceptive sometimes.
So here we go. Jack Winter is going to be the last person to cross the line in order to try and set a better time. Julian Strasser going to cross the line, not improving.
David Long actually down in P2, only 1/10 off of Jack Winter, so fantastic qualifying for him. We've got Mike Doherty in Tier 1, who is not allowed to qualify, having a grid penalty. Naughty boy. See, Lewis Hawkins. Lewis Hawkins is on his final fast lap, going into the... where is this? I think he's coming up to the curb of death, actually. Yep. And ooh, that's not how you take that, but he does manage to keep it on the road.
And he thought jumping up to 3rd position.
Very good. As Lewis Hawkins now coming across the line, I don't think that's going to be an improvement, but it actually is. No, he does jump up to 6th. He did lose a bit of time in the curb of death as he took it sideways, but still manages to get into the top 10, and well, he's still 8/10 off of Jack Winter, but as it stands, P6 is not that bad. Still make something up. David Long ends his qualifying in P2, so that's pretty much going to end the qualifying for our AM drivers as it stands. Now going on to the pros.
Yep, so we're going to follow Rummel Jensen through his first lap of the Kyalami circuit, as Mike Doherty is the last driver to not be allowed to qualify.
Yeah, so they do have quite a few good penalties. I think about 4 of them overall. I think there were more in Monza, right? Don't remember. That was there.
So into the first corner with the Porsche, getting braked nice and early and coming in, get off the accelerator really quick there. You could see the difference between him and the outlap we watched of Julian, as he was being very careful. Just a little bit on the brake there and turn in. It's very sketchy, that corner. It's one of the sort of underratedly difficult corners on the track, as he lifts through this long right-hander. Gets on the accelerator as soon as possible. Come over to the right to take this next apex and get on the accelerator using a lot of the curb there. Nice and brave. Got to be careful to cut back in before the grass, before you and throw yourself into this little chicane. Gets good acceleration out of there up the hill. Then marshal post on the left there. Good braking marker. Throw yourself into the hairpin. And the hairpin you can take wide, you can take close, you can take it basically anywhere you want, and it will normally give you a decent amount of time as long as you can just get the turn in and get the acceleration out of it. really fast down there, a little bit of a lift in the wet before you come incredibly slowly for this corner. Back,
Widens up, so...
yep, back onto the power for the curve of death. Narrowly missed that. And you're into the last corner to set a lap with Rummel Jensen in the Porsche.
Let's see where that puts him. It's going to be a banker lap, so I'm not expecting to go into P1, but it's going to be P1 by one-tenth. And then Miles Dixon immediately beats that, doing a 1:48.6. Nathan Burnswood up to P4 as well, with a also in the 48s, I believe. John Dudley down to P9 at the moment. And as we said he is between Jack Winter and Lewis Hawkins. So that's the risk, given that big gap in time between the two.
I'm seeing a lot of our pros slotting in now with their bank laps into the middle of the Anfield.
Now, a close battle here in Tier 2 is going to be between John Dudley and Benjamin Horiot. They're 2 points. They're 2 points apart in P4 and P5 respectively in their tier. And we've also got David Cox, who's only 7 points up in P4. Yeah, so they're P5, P6. Sorry about that. Yeah, David Cox is in P4 with 57 points. He's fighting to keep that position from Benjamin Horiot and John Dudley. He is one to watch in this qualifying battle, where he ends up versus the two of them.
Obviously still got a lot of pros down the bottom of the order, as they have only set their first few laps, but we will see more of these filter to the top as time goes on.
Sam Teague and Cox, we're expecting more from them.
A lot of improvements coming out so far. Justin Clark about to go into a really nice run.
I was going to say, Janssen responded to Dixon there, going basically 0.003 of a second slower than him, so definitely putting pressure. But then Dixon immediately responds and goes 5 tenths faster. So Dixon definitely being dominant in this first part of qualifying, getting very close to the 47s.
Justin Clark up to 7th position. Nice run for him so far, as we watch David Cox coming in with another big improvement.
Here that puts him. Where did he end up? I'm not seeing him on the... Oh, there goes. David Cox finished his lap.
Yeah, he lost a little bit of time near the end of it, unfortunately, and only hops up to 21st position.
Yeah, he needs to pick up the pace to keep his position in the championship there. Where is Horia, for example? He's in P10, which is much further up. And Dudley is even further up.
Amazingly, looking at our sheets right now, a lot of the pros aren't getting as continuous improvement as the AMs did. It seems like they've managed to hop out here and set pretty decent laps immediately.
This is just more confidence in the car at the start, and also because the dry line's already formed, so we're going to be already at about the full potential of the cars, because before, right, the AMs went on to effectively a green track that's completely wet, so they had to actually make the dry line. The first few laps are basically throwaway laps.
And Dudley put himself up into 7th position. Benjamin Horiot now in the Aston Martin coming through with the next improvement to happen in 12th position so far.
At Carlos Bandera, there's our Tier 2 Season 4 winner in P11 at the moment. Doing better and better here in Tier 1, because last time I saw him in Season 5, he had a lot of big run of bad luck, getting a lot of DNFs. Definitely looking to improve those results. Rumley Jensen still in P2. Miles Dixon far ahead, 4 tenths up in P1. So definitely under a bit of pressure, Rumley, as we see him throwing away his lap. I do believe it's because he invalidated it at the King of Death.
Lucas Fisher and Sam Teague are now the two lowest pro drivers. Both of them on improvements, but they're going to need to improve quite a bit to get anywhere in contention. Sam Teague in the dry the last few races has been really good, competing right up there with the top of the field. So sad to see him so far down.
It is a completely different beast to drive in the wet, though. It's just it's a lot more about just understanding the how the car behaves, because instead it's not just replicating the lines, right? You're always in the wet. You're always going to get oversteer. You're always going to get a little bit of slide, a little bit of aquaplaning, and the best drivers in the wet are going to actually, instead of trying to fight that, they're going to work with that movement and try to and sort of use that slide to get the car around the corner. And it's just a completely different set of skills compared to driving in the wet, compared to driving in the dry, where your instinct is going to be to avoid those slides, to try to keep the car as on rails as possible. But in the wet, you need to play with that movement and try to use it to your advantage. It's just a completely different philosophy to driving, and also much more tiring. So especially in the longer races, if you're going to have wet races, wet 1 hour races, we're going to be seeing a lot of fatigue on their drivers, I believe.
Paul Cramp now coming through with a little bit of an improvement. Carlos Bandera also right at the end there. So Paul Cramp up to 11th. Carlos Bandera now coming through with his lap. And this is going to be quite a big improvement by the looks of it.
Here that puts him as he goes up to P5. Very good. Still, he's still 7 tenths off. We definitely see the top two, well, the top one kind of in leave his own, as the gap is 5 tenths.
A huge run there for Dixon as we just see him coming out the pits for another try.
There's a yellow flag here at the final corner. Yeah, we do see David Cox next to the pit entry, spun around. So I do think he had a bit of a moment. Definitely not having the best qualifying of his life. He's down in P23. So not a very good thing for his championship standing. He's going to be running probably a recovery race, just trying to minimize the damage. Though it is wet, so everybody in front of him could just die and he could win the race. We don't know.
As Dixon takes a little bit to the grass there on his outlap.
Trying to get that some heat into the tires. Probably also trying to shake the grass off of them.
Yeah. Another Bentley here looking to push his time up into the tops is John Dudley. The only driver on the field now who seems to be improving, albeit very slightly.
I do think a lot of the drivers have kind of reached the limit of what they can do, so unless they get a big breakthrough, we're not going to be seeing anybody challenging Dixon at the top. I think have kind of calmed down. There's quite a few people in the pit not really doing any more laps. Oh yeah, some of them are the amps, but
yeah, almost literally no one improving right now. Dudley is our only hope for any movement, but he has quite a gap between him and the driver ahead of him, so if he does manage to make this improvement, he's probably not actually going to gain a position from it.
Almost hits the grass there out of the King of Death. I do think traction control screamed at him a little bit as he was accelerating. Now coming onto the start-finish straight.
Too deep into the last corner, so is not going to gain any time.
He did actually do an improvement of, I believe it was 4 thousandths of a second. So it is an improvement.
Beautiful. It counts.
As Roomle Janssen. Roomle Janssen manages to dethrone Miles Dixon, going up to first position with a 148.1, which was, I think, completely out of left field. I did not think anybody was going to dethrone to beat Miles there.
He had a really good lap. Rummel actually going on to set an improvement again as well, it looks like, so far. Miles Dixon struggling to do so.
He doesn't need to big improvement, and I do think he will manage to start another lap. But I do see some traffic ahead of him. It's pretty far, but if he is significantly faster than the ones ahead of him, it might just end his run. I do think the one ahead of him is Cox, but I'm not sure.
Rummel Jensen
No,
about
it's
to come
not.
over the
It's
line with
Hamilton,
even
yeah.
more of an improvement, down to
Oh my God.
147.7.
Yeah, Rumle just completely asserted his dominance there, just gaining an entire second. I don't know what he did. He just maybe set up magic. Who knows? But yeah, this is the first time in the 47s that we see um, in this session.
Miles Dixon going for that run. That last run.
Okay, he's not gonna get another chance, so he better get a fantastic improvement.
Will Graphics, who had to miss out on Monza due to a penalty, is coming through for a possible improvement. He's going to be the first person to take the checkered flag.
Just goes to show how unpredictable these races can be sometimes. I really did not think Dixon was gonna end up second.
Up to 17th there for Paul Gratrix before Benjamin Horiot comes down for his own little improvement. Up to 8th, Nathan Burnswood is next.
Where is Chirabao?
Here is Rummel Jensen. I do not see him on the list. I believe he might not be here today.
Oh, that's not good for him. He's P3 in the standings, and I don't think he's that safe. Yeah, Cox could dethrone him, though he is pretty far at the back, so he might be safe.
147.5, another improvement from Jensen.
Yeah, and Dixon decides to bail, so that's going to be P2 for him. So still a very good result because he is not that far up in the standings. So I don't think he necessarily needs a win to go far. Janssen, though, definitely proving he is a dominant driver here.
And here comes the last improvement of the day from Jim Reed, who will slot himself into 12.
Yeah, not a very good day for David Cox. He's going to have a tough time keeping that 4th place now. He's all the way down below P20, and his rivals are pretty high up, with Benjamin Horiot in 8th place and John Dudley in 7th.
So here we are on the grid for a very wet race. The rain has only come down harder as we come into this first race. We are now officially in flooded territory as Pedro Fernandez and Andre Dixon Chen will it's confirmed, will not be pressing drive and will be taking the start from the pits. Rummel Jensen qualifies in first position with his Porsche on the front of the grid. Rummel Jensen already banned from competing again in the Championship Series due to being too fast. He's going to line up alongside of Dixon in the first of the Bentley. Winter bringing up the AMs very far forward in this Mercedes. Nathan Burnswood behind him, and Andrea Bandera and David Long filling up the next row with Aston Martins. Dudley brings the second of the Bentleys before Horrocks with yet another Aston Martin, and Thorpe brings a second Mercedes ahead of Justin Clark in the Lexus. Behind them we have Rodelli and Reed in the first of the Ferraris. Krampf cocking in an Audi and Teague in his big pink Bentley. Hawkins, Gratix, Terry, Gino, Strasser, Piogne, Roundtree, Sikansky, Cox, Esposito and Chandley, Fisher, Golnitz, Strom, Martinez, Doherty, Durrett, and then Fernandez and Dixon Chen on the last row. Obviously, as I said, these guys will not be taking the start due to having too many behavioural warning points.
I'm back and we seem to be underwater, so this is going to be quite interesting.
Absolutely, as our drivers start to lead us away on the flooded parade lap, we are going to watch some adverts. Thank you very much for sticking around with us, everyone. This is going to be the first of our 2 races coming up after this. So there has been a little bit of drama on the formation lap as we welcome you back to our cars coming around the last corner. We had 3 drivers off coming through Crocodile, one of them even hitting the wall on the formation lap as our whole field comes past us. Sam Teague there, you can see near the back, getting a very good start as they run down to the first corner. The first 4 still
Teague.
in their setup. As you, oh, he just missed a car. You could just see on the left-hand side of our inlay there, who just went off the edge of the track. Still, the rest of the field at the front hanging up pretty nicely overall. As further back, there's a little bit messy. You can see Lewis Hawkins there off the track. The Ferrari taps into someone and goes around.
That was Piogni in P21. He's around. He definitely had a bit more contact. There's somebody else as well ahead of him. I just don't know who it is. And also Joseph Cocking, he cocked it up on the formation lap, and now also has a drive-through. So that's not something nice to see.
Yeah, that is a bad start from him. As Rummel Jensen still in the lead. Dixon giving him quite a close battle so far. So nice to see him being kept honest.
Somebody's trying to clear Joseph's penalty, but it's not really working. We're getting into the end of the first lap, and there seems to have sort of settled down a little bit as the positions are becoming clearer.
So we can get the timing up here and see Rummel Jensen is still leading from Dixon. Nathan Burnswood in third. Jack Winter still leading the AMs in fourth, with David Long, we were watching right now, was getting harassed slightly by Benjamin Horiot behind him, but he has fallen back slightly towards Carlos Bandera, Justin Clerk, Dudley and Reed, who round out your top 10.
I'm looking at the wrong I'm looking at the wrong seasons here. Wow. Yeah, the wrong steward sheet.
A whole heap of cars coming in further back, but racing not quite as close as we have see it otherwise when it's in the wet, because it's very difficult to stay right up behind people, especially in conditions that can be quite as bad as this.
Yeah, the spray is going to make it very difficult for you to follow people. You just need to trust the person in front of you as much as possible. Yeah, we're going to keep you updated on what happened there to Piogni. It does look like some stuff went on. There are quite a few things in the steering sheet popping up. I believe Teague is probably going to be getting a penalty there, unfortunately, because he did bump into somebody at the start.
You can see here how hard it is to have any sort of vision as we are on board with Paul Brashik. Joffrey, you have a little bit of an awkward angle, but this is the sort of level of spray that you can get behind these cars. Oh, and he's gone wide. That's him off onto the grass, losing a ton of places, manages to stay out of the wall and get back on safely.
That's just we can expect quite a few of these things in a track as flooded as this one. The winners here at the moment, though, are Jack Winter and David Long, as we see Benjamin Horiot go wide on the curb of death and not dying. So extremely well done by him. The bottom part of the top 10 is very hotly contested with Justin Clerk, Dudley, Reed, and Thorpe right up against each other, trying to fight for position going onto the start-finish straight. Going to take a look here at Clerk and Reed and what's going to happen here in turn one. Liking to not try. Oh, there's almost contact going on here with Radelli, having to avoid Andy Thorpe as he kind of slightly misses his braking point. As we see a car around. Oh my God, there is carnage in the second corner or third corner. Who is in that carnage? I cannot see.
Martin Roundtree, it looks like, is the car who was round. We're going to watch a replay of it now. Here are all of the cars coming down the start-finish straight. What happens to Roundtree to send him around?
Roundtree.
Oh, no, there was actually a Lexus that went around. Oh, and then he gets pushed through by, it looks like Cox jumps out of the way. So there was a Lexus and Roundtree in the Ferrari who were off in that corner.
So yeah, there we go. We're going to see some penalties coming in now for Teague, actually. It does look like Teague hit Paul Cramp at the start. Yeah, that's from the nudge up the track that I saw. So as you're seeing in McLaren off the track at the start, it was Paul Cramp. He got nudged by Sam Teague, which is going to give Sam Teague a 10-second penalty. So from bad to worse for that's Sam Teague's race at the moment.
Miles Dixon and Rummel Jensen have really pulled away from the rest of the field. You can see behind him that there's just no one in sight for the Bentley anymore.
Yeah, 6 seconds up the field, just because they're not really mixed up with all these little battles going on. Paul Greatrix is actually going into the pits, so I think he has some... No, he's just pitting now because the pit window is open. There's so much action happening, he completely missed that.
We're watching here Jim Reed, who is right at the back of the top 10, fighting for these positions. There are 2 AMs ahead of him, so he is 8th in his split, 10th overall, with Thorpe rounding out the AM podium. Going to want to get by so that he doesn't get challenged by Rodelli, who is also catching these guys.
Yeah, Thorpe does want to get past because Rodelli is currently still just a second behind him, so there is a bit of a buffer there. But if Reed is slower, he could back him up into Rodelli. Top 10 though, yeah. The top 10 though is pretty calm though, as they're everybody's settling into their pace. So really. Another person who really needs to recover is Lewis Hawkins, who's all the way down to P22 after having quite a horrible start. Trying to make something happen with Fabian Goldenitz, as there's this train of cars here around P20 that are going to be fighting for the rest of the race.
Long actually losing it there. It looks like he's got Horiot now coming around the outside of him, and Carlos Bandera right on the back of him.
Yeah, so that spin is going to be that spin we saw. Also, we're going to be seeing penalties for that coming out. Yeah, that's for Strasser. Strasser's going to be eating a 15-second penalty for that spinning.
That's a big one.
Yep. Yeah, David Long is now behind Benjamin Horgat, and he's still kind of falling behind. He's now under heavy pressure from Carlos Bandera, so he's struggling there in the wet at the moment. Probably some pressure issues because he wasn't expecting a completely flooded track, I think. Dixon and Jensen are in a league of their own now, 8.6 seconds ahead of everybody else. With third place being Nathan Burnswood, but he is under pressure from Jack Winter. Definitely a cork in the bottle there, with Benjamin Horiot 1 second behind and David Long falling ever behind them, with Carlos Bandera right behind him.
Yeah, you can now see the gap between David Long and Horiot, and you can see how the gap to Bandera has not increased in the same amount.
He's kind of falling behind as Paul Cramp is slowly but surely making his way up. He's now up in P18. Going around the outside of Julian Strasser way too fast, going onto the grass, onto the gravel, and completely losing about 3 positions. Overextending there.
And while that's happening, Carlos Bandera is side by side with David Long, takes him into the penultimate corner. David Long looking for a fight back into the last corner, but Bandera has the inside line.
Paul Cramp really struggling. Lewis Hawkins, though, he is also looking really racy with Fabian Goldenitz. They're putting his nose onto the inside as they come into the kink of death, and he elects to not have a fight on a flat track and decides to go for an undercut and hits. As in the top 10, it's getting spicy now with John Dudley looking to take David Long now.
Yep, David Long tried to go back at Carlos Bandera there into the first corner, but hasn't managed it, and now has a whole train of cars behind him looking to get past.
Yeah, Dudley really looking very racy in that Bentley, and Justin Clerk, and Jim Reed also very close. I do think that if Long ends up having to let Dudley bite, he's probably going to be losing more than one position. As Carlos Bandera makes a pretty big mistake out of a corner now, which allows Long to get a bit closer, takes a bit of the pressure off. Further at the back in P18, Paul Prampf is really struggling. He's falling behind Fabian Goldenitz. Might have had some damage from that shunt at the start of the race.
David Long managing to pull slightly away from Dudley, but Dudley getting pressured by Clerk now as well as he starts to catch back up. So any of these positions could be up for grabs as the Bentley goes a little bit wide. Lexus there looking for the inside but not able to get the extra momentum into such a difficult corner to overtake through.
Yeah, as Rodelli takes a 10-second penalty for something further back in the race. I believe it was for contact with car 184. So that would be Lewis Hawkins. I think that was what made Lewis Hawkins lose all of those positions. So that was Rodelli's fault. That's very good news for Jack Winters. He's winning he's currently winning the AM class by a very, very large amount, and Lewis Hawkins is very far back. So that's if he's going to keep this up. If I don't curse him, he might actually get enough points to secure win in the AM class in Tier 2 without having to do the final round.
Yeah, we've got a load of people from the sort of midfield of this race into the pits now. Jim Reed, we just saw jump in from about 10th position.
It also looks like the top two is spicing up a little bit now. The gap between Jensen and Dixon is down to half a second. So let's see if they're going to be electing to fight or if Dixon is going to be looking to do an undercut. He is now in the undercut range. David Long manages to stabilize himself in 6th position now. A bit of a gap between 7th and 5th. Carlos Banderas kind of falling behind Nicholas Burnswood as we have all our other penalties. Strom and Strasser eating 15-second penalties for those incidents at the start of the race. A lot of people electing to go along as we have a yellow flag. That would be Fabio Sikansky. He was in the wall somehow and has died. He has now DNF'd.
Right, we're in the replay to see how Sikansky died. He's just made it through the long right hand. Oh, just looks like he loses it under braking. Just thrown into a wall there.
Weight transfer. Probably. Tries to correct under braking and just ends up spinning instead. Miles Dixon's having some traffic issues there with Fabian Pognia now. His gap has gone up to 1.2 seconds because he's just very difficult to overtake. There we go. Finally manages to get past, but he definitely lost a lot of time there. So the fight for first place is kind of diffused a little bit.
Yep, we've got a few more people into the pits now as well.
Bandera and Burnswood are now very close together, so Burnswood must have made a mistake because my timing screen's still saying 9/10, but that gap is definitely less than 9/10 now. Pit strategy is going to be quite interesting as we're getting into the second half of the race now. Rowan Tree with another 10-second penalty, probably for incident at the beginning of the race.
And there we go. Dixon is diving into the pit lane to spark that battle between him and Jensen. Jensen now needs to go and set some pretty swifty laps.
Oh, while you were saying that, something happened to Burnswood. He went wide somehow. He was on the grass for a bit. That let Carlos Bandera go by, and now he's diving into the pits. So the order now would be Carlos Bandera, David Long, and Nathan Burnswood. Nathan Burnswood, though, elects to stay out and try to recover his time, his lost time.
Yeah, we can see he just goes wide through Crocodile onto the wet curb there. Oh, and jumps over the grass and gravel a little bit as well. Losing a lot of time, but only one position, thankfully, doesn't lose his car. Both the other cars actually dive into the pits, though, so a ton of people into the pits now.
Yep, we're around halfway through the race, so a lot of people are going to be looking to just get their pit stop done and over with. Question here is if Burnswood can recover the lost time, because it's quite easy to have a bad pit stop in ACC.
Yeah. For sure. It happened to me in my second Kyle Army race.
Let's promote John Dudley now to P4, and he's challenging Nathan Burnswood, so he's definitely didn't have the pressure off him, Nathan, as he does make another small mistake, letting Dudley get all the way up to his bumper. So I'm gonna be looking here at this fight. Let's see if Nathan decides to jump into the pits and elect not to lose time defending from John. I think that would be the better strategic call for him.
While that's happening, Jose Martinez has just been overtaken by Dixon, who has already pit and is starting to make up a little bit of time here.
Yeah, Nathan actually made another mistake. He went on the grass again, close before the kink of death, which caused him to lose position to Dudley. So he's not having a nice race there. I think it might be some tire pressure related problems. 2 mistakes in 2 laps, and he does elect to jump into the pits and change those tires, I believe.
Someone else who is in the pits who we should have a look at is Rummel Jensen.
Yep, I'm looking at him now.
On him right now, and we are seeing Dixon. He's coming through Crocodile. He's near the end of his lap, and so it's looking reasonable, like he could do something here.
Jensen just not moving. Not yet, at least.
There we
He's
go.
just now started moving.
And Dixon is at the last corner.
That's gonna... I think Jensen's gonna keep his position. He's out of the pits right now.
Jensen is looking good for it. He has a little bit less momentum, but he's pretty much already in the corner. There he is at the front of our screen, and you can see that Dixon nice and close to him still, but not able to get ahead.
There's basically no change, I think, in the gaps, really.
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to wait for our timing screens to update properly to tell you exactly what the gap is, but currently promoted to the lead is Jack Winter. He's not going to be there for long. Julian Strasser is on the grass. Okay, so he definitely had a spin out into the first fast right-hander. The one close to David Pearl's house, I believe. A very good race for Julian, still in that 4th place, but the second he pits, he's going to need to wait for that 15-second penalty to take over. He's going to be going all the way to the back. Further back down, P15, Benjamin Horriot's trying to make something happen with Dixon Chen, who is basically a backmarker. He just hasn't pit yet, so he's holding up Horriot and Jim Reed right behind him. So there is a fight.
We just watched Nathan Burnswood there. A replay of him going wide into turn 1 and then cutting on a little bit too quick, hitting the curb and jumping across the track. It looks like he has decided to give up after multiple incidents in a row. It's very unfortunate there from Burnswood. He was running in a really good time before that, as we see Sam Teague and Jack Winter in the pits.
Alright, so while they're in pits, I'm looking at this little thing going on in P15 with Horriot. He's still chasing down Dixon Chen. I wonder if Dixon is just going to end up... Oh, Dixon's on the grass, actually. Benjamin Horriot has to kind of avoid him, manages to do so, and in the process does actually get past. Dixon Chen elects to let Benjamin go by instead of potentially instigating a crash. As Dixon is all over Rune Jensen, actually. He's made up that gap, and he definitely has a bit of a pace advantage there. So the battle for the lead is definitely not over.
Yep, Jim Reed also getting past in that battle we watched before Dixon right on the back of the Porsche. Porsche getting a bit wide there, getting some slidey. Definitely seems like the Porsche overall has the pace as we saw in qualifying, but just not quite the consistency of pace that the Bentley can perform with just how damn stable that thing is.
Yeah, the Porsche is notoriously difficult to drive consistently, so is really not a surprise. The top 10 now is pretty chill. The only fight really is for the lead, which is, I mean, it's good, but everybody else is kind of chilling in their position about 1 second or so off the person ahead. The only person in the top 10 hasn't pit is Daniel Durrett as Don Dudley elects to dive into the pits. Further at the back, around P23, there's Paul Krampf and Esposito, as well as Martin Roundtree having a little bit of a scrap. It's far back, but it's definitely close.
As Dixon Chen goes wide there, let's pass Dan Terry and Paul Graytrix, although Dixon Chen still has to pit after starting from the pits. Dan Terry now up into 13th position.
Looking there, let's see where John Dudley actually ends up. Because he's still in the pits. He's looking to beat David Cox. I think he's going to be able to do that quite easily because he's in direct competition for that 4th spot in the championship with David Cox. And he's also looking to beat Benjamin Horiot, who's in P11, who's now coming out of the first corner, last corner, right behind Sam Teague, actually. It's looking like there might be a fight here between Teague and Horiot, who's actually managed to drive quite a good recovery race, going up into the top 10, and he has pitted, so that was all on merit.
Roundtree there, diving past Paul Krampf to take a position.
John Dudley managed to come out in P5, quite yeah. So he's gonna stay ahead. No, he's actually in P7. It's just that the time the screen's happening. But he does manage to stay ahead of both Horiot and David Cox, so that looks very good for his championship fight with the two of them.
A little bit of chaos here in front of Paul Krampf. We've got quite a few drivers fighting for position. Roundtree, Esposito, and Fernandez with, it looks like perhaps Paul Gratrix just lapping them. One of the Lexi anyway.
Yeah, the problem with the Lexi is they all look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Sam Teague, they're managing to hold on to P10. Horiot is not really getting past the blinking Bentley.
Well, there we go. It's Chambly who
So
looks like he's gained a position, or lost a position. Lost a position to Fernandez.
Something happened at the front. Janssen is 7 seconds behind Dixon. I'm going to the replay there. I want to see what went on, because something happened.
Yep, great. You can hopefully find that for us as I check out what has just happened. Oh no, Martin Roundtree. Gonna have to watch a replay of this as well.
Yeah, so I just found what happened to Janssen. So remember the curb of death?
Oh, he went over it.
Yeah, they have the first victim. He spun on his own. He kind of heated up his tires, but fortunately he doesn't look like he has a lot of damage. So I think he'll be able to hold on to that P2. But after running a dominating race, he just fairly dominating race. He just ends up binning it there at that curb of death. To be fair, it's kind of like the wall of champions and everything else. It'll happen to the best of them.
Yeah, if you were watching during the formation lap, you'd have seen in the highlights Porsche making almost that exact same spin on that curb from our 2.4 hours of Kyalami. And while Mihai was explaining that, you saw Martin Roundtree managing to bin it in the hairpin.
A lot of stuff going on. As the pit window is actually going to close, which doesn't really matter because Fabio Skansky is actually DNF, so everybody's already pitted. Coming into the last 5 minutes of the race with Dixon in a confident lead and Jack Winter 13 seconds behind Rumle Janssen, so there's a big gap there between Dixon and everybody else. Jack Winter comfortably in the lead for AM, and on the actual overall podium, it's an incredibly good race for him. in contrast with his main rival in Tier 2, Lewis Hawkins, who I don't even know where he is. He's actually P24, very far back
Yeah,
down the order.
just behind Mike Doherty, who we're looking at now, who
Yeah.
has not pit. So he's going to be slapped with a huge penalty for not doing his mandatory pit stop at the end of the race.
Oh, I didn't notice that yet. That's probably going to put him almost all the way at the back. You
Yeah,
know, he's going to definitely be all the way at the back.
easily.
So it is unfortunate there. As another winner of this race, in my opinion, is John Dudley, who is going to completely, is probably going to end up taking 4th position from David Cox in the standings, as he is also quite a bit ahead of Benjamin Horriot. He's 3 places ahead. If he manages to keep this consistency for the second race, he's going to be having a very good round 4. Top 10, fairly calm, except for Benjamin Hart and Sam Teague. It does look like Teague is now, yeah, he's now in P9, so something did happen there, because he used to be in P10, as Benjamin Hart runs wide at the, at one left-handers, letting Jim Reed by, so that's 1 position down for Horiot, looking even better for John Dudley, because Horiot is his other rival for P4. Horiot managing to keep that position, though. He fights back at Reed, manages to take the inside and stay ahead. Reed misses his braking point a little bit and goes wide in the hairpin, opening up a little bit of a gap again between Benjamin and Jim.
Yep, and I was just checking the standings. Miles Dixon actually very unlucky in the races he was doing well at in Monza. Is very far down the standings. I think he missed the first couple of rounds as well, possibly. This is going to be his first win if he manages to pull it off. So no worry quite yet of Dixon managing to get himself banned.
Yeah, I do remember, though, Dixon having a very bad Zolder, as he was involved in many in a few collisions in that race. So that's one that I remember, because he was looking like he was going to win that one as well. But this time it does look like, unless he ends up winning it in the last 2 laps, he will be taking this first race. David Long having a not very nice race. He was starting up way further up than he was before. He's now down to P8, though he is still on the AM podium. So still managing to keep his position for his race, but definitely lost out to a lot of pros. But to be fair, that is something you'd assume would happen.
Really nice race as well from Andy Thorpe. Andy Thorpe actually started in P9 overall, but has managed to pull himself all the way up to a 5th.
Also good for him, because he also did not have the best of races before, so it's very good to see him finally getting a bit of good fortune and keeping his good positions. Miles Dixon now starting the final lap. So that's going to be the final lap of the race, as the timer is running down. The track is still flooded, but it does look like the rain is going to be getting less intense for the second race, at least looking at my weather screen at the moment.
Yeah, I believe both races are set in the same day. It's no longer flooded, it's only wet, so we should be seeing that come down perhaps even more for our second race.
Yep, John Dudley now has closed up to Andy Thorpe, only 4/10 between them. He has 1 lap to make something happen as he looks down the inside, a little bit of turn 1, but way too far to make a lunge happen, especially in these wet conditions. Janssen has actually gained about 2.5 seconds on Dixon. I think Dixon is just trying to keep it safe and get it home.
Yep, not a bad idea, just to be extra careful on this dangerous surface.
Looking further at the back, I'm trying to spot where Lewis Hawkins is. I'm not seeing him. Oh, he's already down P28. He's had a horrible race.
Yeah, he has. Down from 16th.
Yeah.
Stuck behind this little train, Jose Martinez, Fabian Piogne, Fabio Geno, and then Lewis Hawkins.
Seeing Miles Dixon now coming through the final few corners, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah,
Every single car now on the last lap.
Yeah, Dixon is going to take this race. He's coming across the finish line.
So there we go. There is our winner. Just behind him, Rommel Jensen. The next car to come over the lead on the first lap will be Jack Winter.
Very good race for him. Definitely a race that he needed because of his absence in the next one. John Dudley not managing to make anything happen on Andy Thorpe, though they are not in the same tier, so it won't really matter. He ends up finishing in P4 in Tier 1, bagging a very nice haul of points. Justin Clerk behind him. David Long, P3 for the AM tier. So actually a very good race for David as well. He's coming from silver, so that's very that's definitely showing us that he is a gold tier driver. David Cox finishing, he's going to end up being in P15 as he has that 5-second penalty. That's going to put him behind Brad Delly, though that won't really matter for his race since they're in 2 different tiers. And yeah, that rounds off the first race. We have another race coming up, so stay tuned.
As we look at the timetable, Dixon, Jensen, Bandera are podium for the pros. Congratulations to those three: Jack Winter, Andy Thorpe, and David Long. The podium for AM with John Carlos Bandera in 4th, John Dudley in 6th, Justin Clerk in 7th. So as Mihai said, we're going to have a break here. We're going to play some ads, some highlights. Thank you all for coming around and watching us. Remember, !sign up if you want to sign up to the Discord. And we are going to have another 30-minute race coming up soon.
They're both off. They're both off and follow the leader a little bit. What's going to happen? Hold up, knock and boom.
Let's finish the race.
And where wins? Where wins it on the line, ladies and gentlemen? 4/1000th of a second.
No.
Oh, that drift. You kept it. Oh, his car is at the exit of the pit lane. 6 cars. He's being blocked by a tree. 6 cars on the exit of the straight.
Cantia goes for the dive, does not make it. Oh, and that's not a pass.
That's not a pass.
We are back once again in Kyalami. It's a little bit darker, but it is still rainy. Not quite as wet as we had before, but it's still going. Here our drivers are coming around the last corner.
A long time. Green.
And we are green, and here goes the whole pack of cars rolling into turn one. Rummel gets a good start. Dixon looking to make a move. Not going to find anywhere yet as Nathan Burnswood is trying to go outside Jack Winter. Jack Winter looks like gets the nicer exit.
T gets bullied there in the first turn, gets ping-ponged between two cars, but he manages to keep it on the track. All the cars still on the track. Cambly, they're almost getting spun around by somebody behind him. By Esposito, I believe. He's trying to make something happen around the inside, as everybody seems to make it out alive through the first corner. Through the first few corners.
Absolutely fantastic there. Another clean start from all of our drivers, it seems. Oops. So we are looking further back in the melee to try and see some action happening. Sam Teague, they're going for a little run. He's side by side with Fabian Gino. He's looking for the run out to the outside. This is a really hard corner to go too wide on. Teague smartly doesn't keep his foot in, doesn't run out wide into the Lexus, and they both make it around there safely.
Yeah, the bottom 20 are very close together, so I don't think everybody's going to come out of there alive. But the rain is light enough for people to be able to be a little bit more racy. Here's hoping for more battles this time around. We do see a Lamborghini on the grass. Oh boy, that would be Daniel Durrett going all the way across the grass, but managing to stay on the track, spinning on the wet track and hitting the wall. Fortunate that nobody there was caught up in that accident, but that's Durrett with some damage now, all the way at the back of the pack. Rodelli having a not very good start though. He's in P28.
Got Fabian Pugny here as well, who was challenging Fabian Geno, but has stuck in behind him.
Looking again at the front of the pack, the top 10 still pretty hotly contested with the pack formed of David Long, Horiot, Bandera, and Justin Clerk and Dudley, all less than a second from each other, all trying to make something happen. Meanwhile, at the front, Rune Jensen and Miles Dixon, about half a second gap between them. Jensen still looking quite strong, probably hoping to not spin this time. At the back as well, we've got Dan Terry and Paul Greatrix. Wait, Greatrix is in the ground. Okay, no, he's no longer in the ground. He's on the track.
That's an interesting one. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Now it's switched to Fisher. I think Greatrix DC'd, guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, looks like it. As we're watching Dixon chasing on Jensen as well. He is keeping it nice and close up at the front.
Well, further to the back out, Dan Terry and Lewis Hawkins and Paul Krampf ahead of them, trying to make something happen around Reed, but not managing to make the move stick. Still, though, very close. The pack starting at Carlos Bandera and further back with Justin Clerk and John Dudley, all very close together. The bottom of the top 10, everybody behind them, all definitely looking racy and definitely an accident waiting to happen.
For sure, with so many cars right next to each other, there are high chances, although they've managed to keep it reasonably clean so far, most of them, which has been very good of them.
Nice to see, definitely. Gold drivers are gold for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're able to stay clean and fast even in these conditions. Everybody's staying around in their place, trying to just find their pace through these beginning parts of the race. As unfortunately, Paul Greatrix is actually also going to get a penalty for probably for bullying Sam Teague at the start of the race, but he's DC'd, so don't matter. Andy Thorpe there looking a bit aggressive on John Dudley, but going offline to try to make that move, which caused him to lose more time. So that was a fight that started quickly and ended just as quickly.
Window is opening.
Window open now. I don't think anybody's going to dive into the pits now unless they have damage.
Yep, and seeing as we haven't seen any chaos on the first lap, I would expect no one to have damage. Sam Teague there, following our big boss man Dan Terry in the red Aston Martin there, just behind Lewis Hawkins, who's managed just to be a bit more stable this race than he was last.
He definitely needs to make something up, or else he will have no chance of winning the championship. As Jim Reed actually likes to jump to the pits. I think he just wants to not lose time fighting and just find some clean air at the back of the pack.
Yeah, we have a couple of drivers diving straight into the pits. Jim Reed, Fabio Geno, and David Cox, Lucas Fisher, Pedro Fernandez, Julian Strasser, all into the pit lane already, trying to get out of the early race carnage.
Benjamin Horriot staying all over David Long, though. It does look like David might have a very similar race to the last one, where he's going to fall back from P5 all the way down to maybe around P8. We'll see as things go, but it does look like Horriot is the faster driver of the two currently. Well, John Dudley is now having to defend from Justin Clerk. So, yeah, definitely not a comfortable position. With Carlos Bandera kind of opening up a gap and getting closer and closer to Horriot, as saying that he goes completely sideways through one of the corners, but manages to keep it going and not dying. So definitely, I think he'll definitely need a change of pants after that.
Yeah, it's an easy place to lose it going into that corner. You're right on the limit of grip, even in the dry. So in the wet, you've got to be very careful.
Yeah, that definitely. It's going to make Carlos start to fall back into the clutches of Dudley. There's a bit of a gap there now between Carlos and Horriot, and between Dudley and Carlos. So kind of has a little bit of a niche for himself there, where he can run at his own pace.
Just Strum here actually managed to find himself behind the two cars he's fighting with now. So these three really close battling. Rodelli making up 2 positions there, and Strom just losing the 1.
Here you got Dan Terry in the pits. That's the first one of the more forward-running cars diving into the pits. Again, probably looking for some clear air instead of fighting for position.
Yep, just wants to get out and safe.
Brimley Ensign's been slowly but surely opening up a gap to Miles Dixon as well. Carlos Bandera has actually fallen all the way into John Dudley now. There's half a second or so between them, and it does look like Dudley now has the pace to probably go for an overtaking lap or two.
Once again, after our front 2, who are still staying nice and close together, we have a bit of a run backwards before we get to another pack, but then there are another 4 cars reasonably close together.
So here's hoping Nathan Burnswood can have a better race than last time. Managing to stay in a solid 4th and definitely keeping up with Jack Winter.
Our top 4 positions so far in the race remaining the same.
Bit of a processional race, not gonna lie, but that's just kind of how it is in the wet. It's just very difficult to make a move happen, as because every time you go off the line, you're gonna be hitting that slippery wet part of the track again.
Yep, for sure, and it is at that awkward stage of wet now, where it's not wet enough that we're seeing these guys making many mistakes. It's sort of consistently wet rather than a bit too wet. And the rain will not be increasing before the end of the race.
Yeah, that's the weather we're going to be seeing throughout the whole race. Definitely a very clean. We only had 6 incidents, and most of them are racing incidents. So
Nice.
it's showing how clean this split is. As Dixon is slowly clawing his way back into contention. I think we're going to be seeing another pit battle going on. I don't think Dixon is going to manage to get an overtake going, as they have pretty much the same pace as Janssen here.
Yeah, it was going to take a mistake from Janssen, most likely to make anything happen here. 224 and 225 both fighting for the race lead.
I think that looking further at the back, we've actually got Lewis Hawkins in P11, so there's definitely have been some action there. Some action there at the further back. Unless it's just overtakes in the pits, but I don't think we saw any action. But yeah, Sam Teagan in P12, right behind Lewis Hawkins at the moment. Hawkins currently in P4 in class, still going to lose out a bit to Jack Winter. So I think, yeah, we're going to see. I don't know what Lewis can really do. He's very far behind the other AM tier. Look, oh, Lewis Hawkins is in the wall. Yep, he spins in the. He just spun in the curb of death. Is in the wall and is now stopped in the middle of the track. Is definitely going to be yellow flag here. And let's see if everybody sees him and doesn't pick him up. It's really bad position, just losing more and more positions. I think that's that race over. All that Jack Winter has to do is keep it together. He hits the wall again, trying to get into the pits. Oh, this is not looking good. There's going to be a lot of damage to fix as the bonnet is completely destroyed. Yeah, that's his race over, unfortunately for him. All that Jack Winter has to do now is just keep it together. Doesn't need to even win this race anymore for Am. I think after this, he's going to be well clear of Lewis Hawkins.
Yeah, absolutely. He, after winning both races, will be at 153 points, I believe. 143 points. And so Lewis Hawkins, who it seems would have scored very few points, will need to be at, well, he'll need to be at 104 after this to be able to compete during the last race, which Jack Winter will not be attending, and he's at 72 so far.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's not looking likely. Pedro Fernandez has had decent races, but down at 64 points, not enough to really make a compelling challenge either. So it's looking good for Jack Winter's championship.
Yeah, hopefully not going to be a repeat of season 4. See, Benjamin Horriot kind of sort of threatening him, but not really. He's kind of more like slowly. It looks like it's slowly just sort of falling behind into the clutches of Nathan Burnswood instead. Carlos Bandera has stopped in pits, as well as Fabian Poigne, who has fun in the pit lane.
Yeah, a little bit too heavy on the throttle, trying to get through that very tight left-hander, and he's thrown himself around. Yep,
that's we need a tag for that as well, a Discord tag. Further at the back, Jensen and Dixon are side by side, I believe. Yeah. Dixon and Janssen are side by side going down the hill into the final sector, I believe.
Yeah.
Still side by side, yeah. Almost a bit of contact there.
Jensen has the inside line on the hairpin, so he will just manage to keep it. So we
keep looking at this fight. Definitely looking spicy now as Dixon's trying to threaten a little bit, looking for some space. Coming into the big braking zone here at the hairpin. I don't think he's in a position to make anything happen. He's going to try to do a switchback. Don't think he can stay side by side. Coming into the kink of death. They both survived the kink of death. And Dixon decides he's not gonna have any of that. Just jumps into the pits. Just completely says, "Yeah, no, I'm not gonna kill myself here. I'm just gonna try to do an undercut. I have the pace,
Yeah.
so might as well try."
Exactly. He now knows for sure that right now he has the pace. So unless Rummel can do a couple of mega laps and a really nice pit, he might be threatened by Dixon here.
Not over though, because Dixon does need a good pit stop. These guys are very close together, and even losing half a second in the pit stop is going to completely ruin his chances here, I believe.
We are halfway through, not over yet.
15 minutes left in the race. You got Benjamin Horiot now. He's right up. Yeah, he's right up on the ass of Jack Winter, actually, and closer. Wonder if Jack's going to elect to fight them or just secure his class win. Because there's a boring but valid strategy of just saying, "Y'all are pros. I'm just gonna let you buy it."
Yeah. Absolutely. If it starts getting a little bit feisty there, he might want to do so to take off any possible chance of him losing any positions. But Andy Thorpe isn't hugely behind him either, so can't lose too much. Yeah.
Oh, Benjamin Horiot nearly clashes into the back of him there. There's definitely some missing of braking points happening, as that turn-in is pretty much that braking zone is pretty much blind, so you just kind of need to know when to brake. There's no real good vantage point for you to judge. As Janssen also dives into the pits, so I'm going to be looking at that.
Beautiful. So we can check where Janssen is as opposed to Miles Dixon. See, Miles Dixon is coming up to the hairpin now as Jensen stops.
It's going to be difficult, I think, to overtake him. But he did not really pay attention to what laps Janssen was doing. More and more people I see. Thorpe has also jumped into the pits. I think there's John Dudley behind him. Yeah.
Jensen did a 48 flat last lap, which I do.
Very fast.
Yeah, which is very fast. That was the lap that he was still behind Dixon, I believe. Dixon has just come around the last corner as Jensen leaves, which means that I believe Jensen will still come out ahead.
Yeah, will definitely come out ahead. Actually, quite far ahead, but he does have a bit of traffic to contend with.
He's actually made up some time there.
Yeah, Dixon is now over a second behind.
On Dixon, yeah. Unfortunate there. Didn't manage to set a good enough outlap to keep up with the Porsche.
That's kind of the danger of undercutting, because you kind of go off your rhythm and you also come onto cold tires. So there's definitely a risk of just having a scruffy outlap.
Yeah.
And not only does he have to push really hard to get up to Janssen, but he's also got Jose Martinez between him and Janssen as well. Even though Martinez hasn't pit, he might elect to just go long. The Jack Winter also dives into the pits, so that's gonna stop him from fighting with Benjamin Horiot. Horiot and Burnswood though are definitely very similar in pace. So one mistake from either of them is going to mean an overtake. Roundtree also diving into the pits, so we're going to be seeing, I think, the last few people pitting, and it's also going to make it very difficult for us to know exactly who is where in the race for a little bit.
Yeah, we've still got a few pit stops to go before we can really start seeing them, but all of them seem to be happening right now with the last 5 minutes of the pit window.
Yeah, Dudley's in the pits now as well.
Winter, Teague, Roundtree, Martinez, Dixon, Chen, and Dudley all in the pits.
Daniel Durret on the grass at the start of the race in P3 now, so very good on him.
Yeah, Durrett having a much better second race as we see Yogne there. Oh, diving onto the inside of Strom, but just missing his braking point there. Not a successful overtake, and that's going to put him under a bit of pressure from Lucas Fisher.
Still, even with that, he did manage to avoid an accident.
Yeah.
Really aggressive, but not too dangerous. Do you see? I think it's Dan Terry and Paul Cramp there also getting a bit racy in P15, P16. It shows me Dan Terry's right behind Rowantree, but that is not the case. I think it's just the timing being way off. Burnswood is in the pits, and it looks like Dixon is actually 2 seconds behind Janssen, so that's a massive advantage from Janssen.
Yep, he's gone from being right up behind the tail of the Porsche to not really in contention anymore.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, hindsight is always 20/20, but it does look like pitting was a mistake. I think it would have been better for him to just keep pressuring Janssen. Horriot and Durret now the only ones who have not pit. They do have about 2 more laps in which they can elect to pit.
And there,
Both
Strom
going
just
as
made a
long as
mistake
they
going
do.
a little bit too wide, getting overtaken by the Ferrari, so Fabian has taken that position into 21st. Here is that Paul Cramp chasing down Dan Terry that Mihai was talking about.
I think there's also, it's showing me that Fernandez is right behind Cox, but that is not the case. Fernandez has actually passed Cox now, so David Cox is down to P20. So, yeah, David Cox did not have good races here. He definitely is not that comfortable in the wet compared to John Dudley and Horriot. We're definitely looking to gain a lot more from these races. He's definitely going to lose his P4 in the championship. The question now is P4 going to be Benjamin Horriot or is P4 going to be John Dudley? And currently, I don't know because we don't know where Benjamin's going to end up. Do you see that?
Oh,
where's
so
Dudley?
I just hopped into the replay to try and watch what was happening to Nathan Burnswood, but I cannot select him anymore, which makes me think that he may have crashed out and left the race, unfortunately. Had a very bad race in the first one, so after seeing that start to occur again, it seems like he has unfortunately left us.
Oh, it looks like, yeah, I was wondering where Dudley is, but now looking at the penalties as well. Dixon, Chen, and Dudley had a bit of a moment there coming into the pits, and he's now all the way back down in 26th because he had a 10-second penalty from that. So Dudley definitely looking promising at the start of the race, but now falling all the way at the back.
Daniel
And
Durret
Cox
being
right back.
overtaken by Jensen before he has managed to take his pit. 2 minutes left for Daniel and Benjamin up at the front to take their pit stop.
In my opinion, they should stop this lap because there's definitely, yeah, I don't think,
I don't think they're making another one.
yeah. So we should be seeing them stop this lap and not making the same mistake again. Oh yeah, there's Dudley having that 10-second penalty I was talking about. So those look like the real winner for this, for the 4th position is probably going to be Horriot. David Long's having a much better race now. Actually, he's in P2 in class. He is about 1.5 seconds behind Jack Winter, with Andy Thorpe behind him. So the top 3 of AM is actually fairly close together. I don't think there's going to be any fighting going on.
Well, Andy Thorpe has been struggling to make up time on Jack Winton for a while before David Long got past him, so not likely to see anything more happen there.
And P1 and 2 as well. It does look like they've kind of fallen into rhythm with Janssen and Dixon about 2 seconds from each other. Not really any movement going on. Durret being a bit of an annoyance there for Dixon, not letting him pass. Going onto the grass. Oh no! Oh, there goes this Dixon into the wall. Though fortunately for him, Jack Winter is so far behind that I think he can just limp home in second place. Horiot managing to get into the pits and Duret as well into the pits. Quite lucky there because from that spin, he could have been taken all the way too far from the pit lane and been unable to do his pit stop.
Daniel Duret here was ahead on track but had not pit. Just loses it right before coming into the pits there, pushing the Bentley off of the road. And then he can get back to diving into the pit lane where he sits at this moment.
We see Carlos Bandera actually very close to Andy Thorpe. He's going to try to get something going. Trying to disrupt that train of AMs in front of him.
Oh, big slide there from Dixon.
Yeah, I don't think Dixon is in I don't think Dixon's car is in very good shape. So it doesn't really have to be. He just needs to do about 3 laps, and he has 20 seconds or so, well, 18 seconds or so of buffer between him and third place. So he hasn't really lost anything.
Jack Winter now has David Long right on him, as we were saying. Andy Thorpe not looking like he has the pace to challenge, but David Long seems to possibly have that. Not long left now, only a couple of laps going to happen.
Yeah, actually, it does look like Thorpe lost a position to Horiot there, so I'm actually going to jump into replay real quick. I want to see how he got that overtake.
So Jack Winter and David Long, the furthest forward battle that we have, looking like it's possibly going to threaten Winter's championship if David Long can make the move.
It does look like actually I was quite dumb, and it's just Horiot coming out the pits between them. That's what happened.
Yep, so just a good pit stop, out lap and in lap there from Benjamin Horiot. Gets him ahead of his, well, not really his rival because it's someone in a different class, but he is ahead on track.
Still P5 and P3 in class, so a podium for him. Still very
Nice.
the race.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dixon definitely not on one piece now. Only 15 seconds between him and Jack Winter. He lost 4 seconds there almost. 10 seconds now from Janssen. Janssen's going to comfortably take this win unless something happens. We don't know yet. We have seen both of these two drivers get into accidents before.
Always possible to hit the danger curve again.
Oh, Andy Thorpe makes a bit of a mistake and runs wide, letting Carlos Bandera get side by side into the fast right-hander, though deciding to not go for the move. Probably just saying, look, it's raining. I'm still in a very good position. You're in a different class, and I don't want to die for this.
And just ahead, Martinez there trying to go side by side with Fisher into turn 1. Loses a bit of momentum on the straight and is not going to be able to go for the move. But there's a nice little pack down here near the back of the field.
It does look like the middle of the top 10 is definitely going to be contested for the final 2 laps, as we're seeing Carlos Bandera having the pace on Andy Thorpe. At least that's how it looks like. Looking out the outside, looking on the inside, just trying to see where Andy is weakest and just maybe finding a way to get side by side and stay side by side.
Jogne there made a little bit of a mistake as we hop on with the Audi of Cocking. He now has John Dudley very close to him, and that's Daniel Duret around again. So down from 21st to about 26th there.
Well, unfortunate there. It was the curb of death. It's one of those things that just happens to everybody eventually. And then the damage probably doesn't make it easy for him to drive his car. Yeah, Pedro Fernandez would be the next person who would have posed a threat to Jack Winter, and he is in P16 at the moment, so it's definitely not looking like Jack has anything to fear.
Yep, in this race for sure, he is feeling pretty comfortable at the head of AM there. Just needs to make sure again. We heard from our pitside reporter here, as it seems, Paul Glover, in the chat, telling us that he will not, Jack Winter will not be making it to the final race, which is the double points 1 hour race around Donington.
That's going to be quite interesting. Donington is very short. It is quite tight and difficult to overtake on it. So,
I wonder if Donington is still sponsored by Simply Sausages. I
I don't know, but it sounds beautiful.
I haven't looked at the advertising bands, but Simply Sausage Donington was always the funniest track name.
Interestingly, sorry, you first.
Sam Teague just in 10th position as Rummel Jensen has finished the race. Dixon just behind him. And Jack Winter will be taking the victory in
Yeah, David Long right behind him, actually. Definitely looking like it was spicing up if we had another 1 or 2 laps. But no, It's going to be Jack Winter taking the second win of the day, completely dominating this race in the wet. As expected from Jack, honestly, he's always had very good performances in the wet. So definitely a great race by him, and I believe he's effectively won the AM championship. Janssen taking the win, as you said, and then we have we have the pro podium from that of Rune Janssen, Miles Dixon, and Benjamin Horiot, with the AM podium of Jack Winter, David Long, and Andy Thorpe. They are our podium finishers the second race. And the top 10 is also being rounded out by Carlos Bandera, Jim Reed, Fabio Geno, who is an AM, and Sam Teague. Sam Teague definitely looked strong last in the race in the dry, but couldn't really get the same pace here in the wet.
A huge shout out to Jensen, our winner, our now 5 times winner. Dixon for his first time winning the last race and his second position this race. Horiot for his position. And we can get back into the game and have a look at the AMs. The AMs are Winter for 2 wins in the AM, Long and Thorpe. So huge congratulations to all of these guys and everyone who scored points. That was the end of our penultimate series. So thank you very much for sticking around and watching this with us. Some decent races, tricky conditions, and we will be back in a week for Donington. We should be streaming on Saturday and Sunday. Although we didn't have a stream this Saturday, so we're not sure exactly how it will go. But we'll definitely be back on Sunday. And yeah, that's us for today. Any last words, Mihai?
Really just looking forward to that Donington race. It's always interesting around Donington. And yeah, I'm just going to bet right now, I think, hope that somebody is going to take the wrong entrance to the pit lane.